All right, welcome back. Sorry about looking into all your debt. Hopefully, it wasn't too scary, and hopefully, you learned something. So, it's there, it's not going anywhere until you pay it off. So, it is what it is. This module, hopefully, is more fun. So, we'll jump into that right now, and it's on vacations. So, I think most people like to take vacations. I sure do. So, I'm going to show you how I take vacations and how to take a vacation and not feel like you're breaking the bank. So I get these questions all the time, friends, family, what have you. How do you budget for a vacation? Can I use my emergency fund for a vacation? Can I put it all on a credit card and worry about it later? I'm hoping by this point in your course, you know it's not the last one. So let's dive into this one. This is me on a cheap vacation. I love cheap vacations. I love going somewhere where the main activity is free, like a beach or a mountain. Even mountains like the parks might be $7 or something, but you know what I mean. You're going somewhere to do something that you can get away, relax, enjoy. That's not the main focus is spending crazy amounts of money. I love staying with friends and family. That's where most of my quick vacations, weekend getaways, even week-long trips, I either go with friends or family to split the bill. I stay with friends or family that live in Florida or Colorado or somewhere cool, make it way easier and cheaper. If I'm going places where I have to pay somewhere to stay, I like to use Airbnb so I can cook some breakfasts or make a lunch or maybe one dinner on the trip to save some money. Makes it easy. And then I like to use credit card points for travel, for the airfare, etc. I'll flip a travel credit card, get the promotion. My next trip, my wife and I are flying from LA to Hawaii and back round trip for free. So it's how you pick and choose to make your vacations more affordable. Vacation planning. So, can you work a trip into your budget? How do I do that? How do I go on a trip, especially when I was working full time as an accountant? I'd have vacation, and not only would I get paid on my vacation because I had paid vacation, but I wouldn't dip into my savings when I went on the trip. So I try to do this, especially when I had less money or made less money, was my weekly spend. My weekly spend, that 175 a week I had saved or budgeted in. So it's going for a week trip to the beach, staying with a buddy in Florida. Okay. Flights were, I bought the month prior this way too. So I made it right on budget. I would, the week before the trip, or maybe 2 weeks before, try to spend as little as possible. Maybe I wouldn't go out. I would just order some takeout Saturday night for dinner and watch a movie with Shannon or something like that. Try to spend as little as possible. Let's say I spent $50 that week on just food or went shopping for something. I needed a new pair of shoes for my trip or something like that. So that gave me another 125 bucks in my budget for a future week. So if I could do that the week before a trip, give me an extra 100. During the week of the trip, I'll use that weekend. Let's say I leave Saturday. I don't spend any money on that week until that week. So I have that whole 175 for my trip. In the following weekend, I have that full 175 plus the 100 I saved the prior week for being cheap. And then when I get home, the last week of the month, I try to be cheap too. Like I cook all my meals because I just ate out every meal when I was on my vacation. So I try to save all my going out money just for that vacation. So the weeks prior and after and during the week of that long week, I try not to spend anything and leave it all for my vacation. That still probably won't cover it all, but it'll make me feel a lot better. And then let's say we had that extra 400 for saving for that month budgeted in, then that extra 400 will help me pay for it as well. So for me to spend $1,000 while I'm at a trip, that's pretty normal and pretty cheap. I like to budget like $100 a day. Some days that's high, some days that's low, but instead of a full trip budget, I like to chunk it down into days. It's easier to track, especially when you're out on vacation. You don't want to track all your expenses. You could say, well, today we got in, our family picked us up from the airport. that we're staying with were staying there for free. We got to their place and we just had, they ordered pizza for us. They were happy to see us and we drank their beer or something like that. Cheap day. You only spent money at the airport for some expensive lunch. So let's say you spend $30 that day just in the airport. So that gives you an extra $70 for the next day. Next day you go out for all your meals, you spend 120, you're over your 100, but you had that extra 70 cushion. Next day you go to the beach all day, you just buy tacos, you stay in, so that day is under. So if you can get your full vacation budget, break it down per day, then you can say if you're over one day, the next days try to go under to get back on budget. It makes it a little easier for me to track. And souvenirs, like I said, I'm not a spender. I don't like buying a lot of junk that clutters up the house, what have you. So the souvenirs I like, if I'm at the beach, I'll take a seashell or something, bring it back, put it on my desk. So it reminds me of the trip. I'm in the Rockies or in the mountains somewhere, grab a cool rock. Probably not supposed to do this, but little rock, just so I remember the trip. Free, small, when I'm sick of it, just throw it in the yard. It's like, it's not taking up any space. And of course, pictures, especially now, that's the main point. Reason you go on trips is to flex on all your buddies that you're on this cool beach or this cool vacation somewhere. And that's free, easy. You have them all on your phone forever on social media. So cut down on spending that way. Try to avoid the t-shirt that says Virginia Beach. It's like, you really need that $30 t-shirt that's probably worth $5 for the stuffed animal or something. So try to think of it that way to stay on budget. Drive when possible. Even right now in the news, it's January 2023. Gas prices are pretty high. Still cheaper than flying if you're driving with people. Let's say you and your spouse and another couple, or you and 3 friends go somewhere within a 10-hour drive together. Drive would be fun. You can pack food and drinks. You can overpack a little bit. When you get there, you don't need to Uber or rent a car. And then sometimes, even if it is in that 10-hour radius, it's cheaper or faster than flying, because you got to get to the airport, park or Uber to the airport, whatever. Wait 2 hours before because you're responsible and you think you got to get there so early. Fly, deboard, get your bags, get an Uber, get to the place. It turns out being a lot of time to fly too. But if it's just you, it's probably cheaper to fly. But keep that in mind, that you can use your car when you're there. You can, if you're in a small hotel room, you can leave some crap in the car, your suitcases or something, only take out what you need, and use it as extra space as well. The big vacation is a little tougher. So like your honeymoon, your Euro trip, your Asia trip, something big you've been planning on for a long time. This is where it's going to be a little tougher to budget for. So you'll probably want your 6 months expenses, or at least 3. So you have some cushion you might have to dive into on this big trip, depending. But you can still make it affordable. Like I said, I like to churn a travel credit card if I'm going on a big trip. So get a Chase Sapphire Preferred. It's a really fancy card. You spend $4,000 on it, you get like $800 in travel dollars. If you do that, just your normal spending. I'm not saying going out and spending $4,000 on a watch or something, but if over 3 months, your normal spending, you put it all on that card, get your bonus, use that for the big flight. That'll help the cost a lot, and cancel the card. And then there's no fees on like a card like that. If you're overseas, you won't get a transaction fee every time. So use it while you're over there, which is nice. Use Google Flights to track flights way in advance, and they'll give you updates when it goes below value. Then jump on it then, book it then. The one big thing though, it's while you're there, is pick and choose your luxuries. I know if you're going to Italy, you're gonna have to buy some luxurious things, like you're in Italy, first time, maybe last time ever. If you want a fancy hotel room, then maybe you don't go to fancy dinners, because all the meals in Italy are probably amazing. I still haven't been. It's on my short list. Or if you go and you skimp on the hotel room, you get like a little Airbnb off the beaten trail, and maybe you can afford 1 or 2 cool fancy dinners. But again, it's probably all good. I mean, hopefully you're not in your hotel room for the majority of the trip. That's what I think. I always try to go for the cheaper place to be at and then just go to the cool places. If I'm a block off the beach, let's say in Florida, it's a lot cheaper than on the beach. And I get a nice little walk because I'm on vacation. I'll enjoy the walk to the beach. But on these big vacations, do your research. Try not to pick the flashiest, best place because you're in this awesome place. As long as you're not in some scary slum, it's probably worth it to go to the cheaper spot. But pick and choose, and then your excursions too. Like if you're going on some expensive excursions, those other days you better just be chilling or going to a museum that's free or something like that to offset those big expensive excursions on these trips. This was a trip I took in Arizona back in 2021. I'd never been to Arizona. I had one friend that I was close with in college. I haven't talked to her in a couple of years. I just messaged her out in the blue on Facebook. I didn't even have her phone number. I'm like, hey, I'll be in Arizona this time. Do you have any recommendations? I want to go to Sedona, this, that. She's like, well, I live in Phoenix. If you want to stay with me, you totally can. I don't have a lot of friends and family come through the area. I'd love to see you and Shannon. I'm like, oh, sweet. And she's like, I'll pick you up at the airport. I'm like, oh my God, even better. So this friend, like I haven't talked to in a long time, you'd think like be weird if I reached out and said, hey, can I stay with you? She probably would have said yes. But I just reached out and said, hey, I'll be in the area. Maybe we can meet up or something. And she's like, hey, I'm pumped. You come stay with me. And it'll be like a vacation for me because I don't see a lot of friends and family because I'm so far away from Pittsburgh. We had an amazing time, became way closer friends with her. Never met her boyfriend before. Now we're cool friends. I'm excited to see them again next time in Arizona, which is going to be in a month or so. And it was super easy. Just you'd be surprised the friends and family you have that moved away would be very grateful to have you stay with them. You're not really a burden because they're not seeing friends and family constantly because they moved away. They only see them when they go home for the holidays and they hardly get to see them at all because it's so crazy. So if you're out in their area, they might be super pumped to have you stay with them if they have the room. You never know. Or if you can't stay with them, they'll say, hey, just come over and I'll cook you dinner one night. Then you get to catch up with this old friend, you get a free dinner, or they might just say, this is the local spots, go here. And you'll get the coolest spots around because they're experts in this area. So you never know. So reach out to them. It's easier than you think. You're not weird. They're probably more or less excited to hear from you than thinking you're a burden to them. Get this from my friends. They like to say, oh, it must be nice. Alex is on another cool vacation, or like people that aren't close to me. Man, you travel all the time. I'm like, not really. I think of it like I go on like a couple trips a year that are super cheap. I'm staying on my buddy's couch, but they don't see that. They see on this awesome picture when I was in Costa Rica with a rainbow on a beautiful beach, but they don't see I probably use credit card points for a free flight, or I got them dirt cheap on because I tracked them for a while. We stayed a couple blocks off the beach that was significantly cheaper than the luxury spots on the beach. And laying on the beach is free. I mean, we paid for this, a local guy, a local business to ride these horses at sunset, but it's cheap too. They don't see me saving the week prior and the week after, not doing anything fun. They just see that I went on this awesome vacation. They don't know how I work this into my budget or how I cook every meal. And then on vacation, I post all these cool, fancy food pics, but I'm cooking every meal the rest of my life, like to save up for this, So I'm enjoying it when I'm at the beach and they don't see that I'm cooking breakfast in the morning to make it a lot cheaper. So that's how I'm able to do this. Once like the end result, once you leave a vacation, you look back on this vacation years later, you only think of like the pictures you take in or the cool memories of the good times. You don't really remember like, oh yeah, that hotel was kind of gross, or not gross, but like not as nice as some of them could have been. Like maybe I shouldn't have skimped, but at the time it was totally worth it. You get to go to this amazing vacation and not feel like you're breaking the bank or worrying about how you're going to pay the bill or worrying about your dipping in your savings and feeling bad because you dipped in your savings for something fun like a vacation. Because everyone needs a vacation. Everyone needs to reset, get back to their real life. So that being said, this was an easy module compared to the others. Your homework is, this is a fun homework too. Look into your dream vacations and cheap vacations. Just start thinking about them, because you're always thinking about vacation, but now thinking about them as a way to do it affordably. Make sure these dream vacations too are aligned with your personal values. Like a lot of people are like, oh, you have to go to this place, you have to go here. But think, would I even like it there? Like, I hate the hot sun. Why would I want to go to the Bahamas? You know, just because everyone else says I have to. Do what you want to do. You're spending your hard-earned money you've been saving up for, working really hard on your budget, cutting your expenses, cooking at home, etc. Don't waste it on a trip that you might not even enjoy just because someone else made you go. Next, message friends and relatives that live someplace you'd like to visit and see what they have to say. They might come back like, hey, my cousin, this is a true story, happened last week. My cousin lives in Phoenix as well. And I haven't talked to him since high school. I hung out with him twice in high school. It was kind of a distant cousin. He's like, hey, I'm like, hey, I'll be in Phoenix. I know last time I missed you and we can get lunch or something. He's like, well, if you need a place to stay, I just finished my guest room. I'm like, actually, I might 2 nights because my wife Shannon will be at a bachelorette party. He's like, yeah, totally. You stay, and she wants to stay later too. I'm like, oh, perfect. Again, not even this time. I wasn't even asking or expecting to stay. And he's like, just stay. We find your family. I'm like, awesome. So I get to hang out with this cousin I never really got to be close with just by, again, messaging on Facebook. So yeah, just get in the back of your mind, like friends from college, friends from high school that moved away that you might not have talked to in a long time. Just reach out to them and say like, hey, how's the area? I'm thinking about going on a cheap trip here. Or would you recommend any places? And they might say, yeah, totally. I'll take you everywhere and drive you around. You never know. So fun homework for once. This is how I like to go on a bunch of little cheap vacations a year and not break the bank and stay right on track for my budget. So hopefully you can learn how to do the same.